I call to order the meeting of the Verona Common Council for Monday, April 28th at 7 p.m. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next, we'll have the roll.
Alderperson Braithwaite.
Present.
Alderperson Harrison.
Here.
Alderperson Helmke.
Present.
Alderperson Hoekst.
Present.
Alderperson Lytle.
Here.
Alderperson Swanson.
Present.
Alderperson Tucker Long. And Alderperson Weiss.
Here.
All right, everyone's here, 7 in person and 1 virtual. We can proceed. We'll move on to item 4, which is public comment. If any members of the public wish to speak, now would be the time to do so. Seeing no one approaching the microphone, we'll move on to item 5, which is approve the minutes from the April 14th, 2025 and April 15th, 2025 Common Council meetings. Questions, comments, corrections, or motions to approve?
Move to approve.
Motion by Alder Swanson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alder Harrison by a half second. Last chance for corrections. Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of approving the minutes from the April 14th, 2025 and April 15th, 2025 Common Council meetings, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. And the minutes are approved. We will move on to item 6, which is mayor's business. First up, we have 6A, which is committee appointments. They are in your packet. We are still looking for an appointment to the Tourism Commission and an alternate to the Zoning Board of Appeals. So if you have any names to suggest to me, I am happy to listen. But with that, I would entertain a motion to approve the committee appointments as presented in the packet if someone wants to make it. Alder Tucker Long.
I move that we approve the committee appointments as they are presented in the packet.
Motion by Alder Tucker Long. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alder Hoekst. All those in favor of approving the committee appointments as presented in the packet, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. And the committee appointments are approved. We'll move on to 6B, which is the presentation by the Miracle League and Rotary Club of Madison West Middleton regarding potential project at the Field of Dreams.
Thank you, Mayor. We have people from both the Rotary Club of Madison West Middleton and the Miracle League here tonight to give a presentation. This is kind of a follow-up to the discussion that we had at a prior meeting regarding the potential purchase of the Field of Dreams area. So, and with that, we have Kevin here tonight to just talk about it.
Thank you, Jamie, and good evening.
Is the microphone on?
It is. Please allow me to introduce my colleagues just for a moment to give you context. Jack Ferrari.
I can't hear.
Thank you. Thank you, technology.
Is that better, Alder Helmke?
I'd like to introduce some of our club colleagues. Jack Ferrari, Abby Benbow, our club president, John Gerald, one of our longstanding members, Mary Beth Ryan Celine, Brownie Celine, who will be our incoming club president, Greg Schultz with the Miracle League of Dane County, and Bill Schultz with the Miracle League of Dane County. Our preliminary conversation with you this evening is to discuss the possibility of the Madison West Middleton Rotary Club entering into an agreement with the city of Verona for a long-term lease to build a Miracle League of Dane County field. By way of context, the Miracle League serves disabled boys and girls and their families. We already have in Dane County an exceptional facility in Cottage Grove, and we would like to replicate that design and, frankly, introduction into the community with the city of Verona. We've had preliminary conversations with Jamie relative to the details of what we would be looking at. And what we thought this evening might be best is to start with a short video that explains the Miracle League. You may already be familiar with it. If you are, thank you. If you're not, this will give you a sense of our proposal and where we wish to go in a future conversation with you. So if I may look to you, Jamie, to help us.
9 years old and in love with the game of baseball. The only thing in the world I wanted
was to make it on our Little League team. I went through all the tryouts, hitting, fielding, throwing, and my friends told me I did a great job. The commissioner of the league walked up to me and my parents. Even though I could play well, he told me I could not be on the team because of my artificial leg. I could get hurt or hurt another player. I was devastated. It hurt like nothing before. One day I was on the field, and the next day I could only watch the game I loved through a chain-linked fence. 66 years later, it's time for a new field. It's time to let everyone play. It's time for the Miracle League.
The Miracle League of Dane County provides children with cognitive and physical disabilities the opportunity to play America's favorite pastime, baseball. But it's not only about baseball. In addition to hitting the ball, making their way around the bases, and crossing home plate, these children get to experience life-changing moments that will forever impact them and their families, volunteers, coaches, fans, and the community at large. The Diamond at Bakken Park in Cottage Grove has a flat, rubberized synthetic field that enables children with wheelchairs, walkers, or poor mobility to play baseball. Each child has a buddy who is by their side as they play the game and to help them as needed. But it takes more than the love of the game to run the Miracle League. To operate the league each season, to support kids and families, and to provide even more incredible services, we need help. This opportunity becomes a reality for so many kids in our community, thanks to volunteers, sponsors, and you. To learn more and donate, please visit DaneCountyMiracleLeague.org.
Yogi Berra once said, "Love is the most important thing in the world, but baseball is pretty good too, especially when everyone gets to play."
Thank you for allowing us to share that. We wanted to give you a snippet of both the opportunity and, frankly, what it means to families, what it means to the community of Cottage Grove, and what we think it could mean for the city of Verona. Our interest today, folks, is we do not have the funding set up. We have a vision of being able to potentially build in partnership with the city in what we would call the Hemlock Street Fields. Jamie, am I describing that correctly?
Associated with Field of Dreams, yep.
Got it.
Yeah.
By way of background, we have had preliminary conversations with Jamie about our club's interest. As a volunteer Rotary Club, we would be looking to raise from the community, from businesses, and frankly from Dane County, as citizens, probably north between $2.5 and $3 million. And that's factoring in that we believe if we are able to work with the city of Verona, we think that we could have a field online ready to go by the summer of 2027, functionally 2 years out. We are prepared in working with the Miracle League of Dane County to satisfy the city's legal concerns, neighborhood concerns. It would be building a very specialized field, as the video implied. It's a rubber field. It's built with the safety of the boys and girls in mind and their supporters, who every child has someone with them when they are up to bat. We also would be having a sound system and video to highlight the child as he or she is up to bat. So if you've been to one of these, you understand what I'm talking about. If you haven't, I would urge you to think about going out to Cottage Grove to see it, because it's built with safety in mind, but certainly for the children and families. We believe this is consistent with our Rotary Club's mission. We think it's consistent with the progressive nature of the city of Verona, and we would love to earn the ability to be a partner with the city to get this done. The company that builds the field is Findorf, a highly recognized and probably familiar name here in Verona. We are very confident that Greg and his team, although Greg is retired from Findorf, that Findorf would be the building partner. We're very satisfied as a Rotary Club that they know what they're doing and will build it with fiscally conservative modeling in mind, given that this is going to be a 100% fundraising effort. I'm delighted to share with you already, even though we do not have formal approval and many things going forward with the city to make this a reality, that we already have individuals who've stepped up and said, I'd like to contribute to this. So we're asking this evening for the permission to work with Jamie and other city leaders to be able to work through the legal and structural and ball diamond issues to make this a reality in the summer of 2027. I'd be happy to take questions, albeit we know we are in the very preliminary stage of what we're thinking about.
Questions from the council?
I have a question.
Alder Weiss.
I'm a little bit confused of specifically what's being requested at this stage.
We would like to enter into a long-term lease with the city of Verona for specific land, and Jamie, I'll defer to you in terms of the details of the specific land, to be able to build a field constructed according to the Miracle League guidelines for the summer of 2027.
So this would be the approval to develop a plan that would then, so this is like approval to work with city staff on a plan? Am I understanding that correctly?
I think that's the ask. I mean, generally speaking, like if the council is generally unfavorable to something, staff's not going to spend their time on it.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Just to have the council come and vote it down anyway. So this is kind of I guess I would say a test the waters. So like if people have concerns, if people have directions for staff, now would be the time to bring it up.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
And you weren't at the last meeting where we talked about this because you weren't in Alder yet. So if you feel like you missed something, you did. So.
Mr. Weiss, we're modeling this after the relationship of Cottage Grove with the Miracle League, and we believe, based on our analysis, that it can be done here in Verona, ever mindful of different city rules and obligations. But we think we can make it happen, and we think that a timeline of 2 years is not out of the extraordinary, frankly.
Do you see there being any significant material differences between the agreement with Cottage Grove and with Verona? Is there like significant, or is this a kind of, is your desire to kind of do a copy and paste of that agreement, or is that something that still there's too many details to be worked out to really
There's many
speculate?
details to be worked out, but we believe our initial analysis is we can work with the city of Verona based on the model of Cottage Grove to get this done.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions from the council? Mr. Alec.
Just a quick, I'm sorry.
Alder Helmke then.
Yeah, thank you for the presentation. This is really great. I'm excited about it. Curious just for when you're thinking about development costs, ongoing costs, how are you ensuring that you can pay for this? Is that part of the development plan? Do you have a percentage that's going to go towards the ongoing care of this facility, or what is that going to look like?
Yeah, we will build a comprehensive financial model to deal with both the initial investment and then the ongoing maintenance and the roles and responsibilities of our Rotary Club, of other business partners we may have. What's the role of the city of Verona? Those are all details that we have purposefully not gotten into until we brought this idea to you. And I'm quite confident working with Jamie and his team that we can get those things worked out that can be mutually satisfactory for us. I mean, we are a nonprofit Rotary Club. We are not a business, but we have many members that would be, frankly, working there for games, et cetera, as they already do in Cottage Grove. So this becomes, if I may, a big deal for a community. And I think for those families that are affected, it'll be wonderful for folks to come out and see good baseball. It's a very special game. And having never been there before and seeing it, I was, on a personal note, deeply moved by both the passion of the boys and girls, but the families that were being supported. And the Village of Cottage Grove appears to have been a great partner to make this happen.
Mr. Alec.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a quick comment. Besides the ball field, there's also an accessible park at Cottage Grove and a shelter bathroom that was also, I believe, raised. Funds were raised to build those structures as well. So we would hope we'd have similar amenities here in Verona as Cottage Grove.
Other questions from the council? Alder Braithwaite.
Has the Cottage Grove facility started their season yet? And if not, when does it start?
June 2nd.
June 2nd. Okay. Great. I would love to go out and see a game or see an activity. Are they mostly held on the weekends?
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, throughout the months of June and July.
Okay, thank you.
We have 3 games a night,
3 games a night.
300 kids involved.
Wow,
We
okay,
have 24 teams and 12 games a week.
okay, thank you.
Other questions or thoughts from the council? Alder Tucker Long.
Do you have an estimate for how many kids would be using our field?
I can talk a little bit about that when I'm up to bat.
Sounds good. I will defer my question till then.
All right, I guess there's more to the presentation then?
But I'll defer to Bill.
Excellent.
Come on up.
First of all, that's not Greg Schultz, it's Greg Sweeney.
Sweetie, I'm so sorry.
I'm not
Your
related
brother,
to him
Steve.
at all, so. Actually, Greg is the one that built the field. I had the vision and so forth, but Greg is kind of the builder, so, anyway. Well, when I first heard about the Miracle League, given my background of having multiple disabilities and wanting to play baseball, I was sitting on a couch with my wife watching NBC Nightly News, and up on the screen comes a video of kids with wheelchairs, walkers, spina bifida, autism, Down syndrome, many other disabilities, playing the game of baseball. And they were playing the game of baseball in a Little League-sized field, rubberized field, with the help of what we call buddies, who are volunteers who are beside them at all times from the moment they step on the field to the moment they are returned to their parent. And if my wife were here, she'd tell me, I've never cried during our wedding, during my marriage, but I did that night. So I inquired about Madison. This is an association of over 300 leagues around the country that are independently owned and independently financed. So it's our baby. So I just immediately called their office in Atlanta and found out that there were 7 Miracle League fields in Wisconsin, but no one in Madison. And so I said, well, I think I might like to get involved in it. I had just left the field of recruiting and needed a new something. And I was just blown away by how it came about. So they told me I would have trouble finding land, first thing, but I came back, and with the help of the Middleton Parks and Rec supervisor, he got a meeting together of about 9 Parks and Rec superintendents in Dane County, and I made my presentation, and the next morning I got a call from DeForest and Cottage Grove, who were building onto an existing field. And Cottage Grove just stepped up and offered us the land, allowed us to do what we needed to do with the land for $1 a year. And then, of course, we had the challenge of fundraising. But we were able to raise $550,000 in the space of a couple of years, even through the pandemic, with the help of donations. I became the P.T. Barnum of the Miracle League. I talked to anyone, and we've been blessed. So we had our first season in 2021. We expected 50 kids. We got 90. The next season, we had 200, then 250. Last year, 300, and this year, we're at 320. If you were out there to see not just the kids, but the parents and the volunteers, you would be touched very much. One of the things that struck me was, first of all, it gives these kids an opportunity to play a game, but this program is not about baseball. It's a program that allows kids to feel included, accepted, build their self-esteem, build their self-confidence, experience a sense of normalcy that they normally don't have, create new friendships, build up their social skills, laugh, enjoy, but also realize that no boundary should define them. And we've seen that. It's just when you see these kids sitting in the dugout with 14 other kids, different ages, different disabilities, talking to each other and laughing it up. The older kids, which go up to 19, look out for the younger kids, and the younger kids go down to age 4. They look up to the older kids, and it's quite a dynamic. The other thing that happens is that the first week, particularly young, kids that have never played, they're just in a shell. They're timid. They don't know. They just are very, very shy. They're in a shell. Come week 3 or 4, and they hit off a tee. They began to say, no, I want to hit it off the tee without any help. And then come 7 or 8, they're saying, pitch to me. It's amazing how they grow with their confidence. They talk more. They laugh more. That's what this is all about. But then you look over at the stands, and you see the parents just teared up, not because they're unhappy, but they're joyful. Here they see their kids having fun, laughing, and we do not let the parents volunteer unless they absolutely have to for safety reasons. But we want them to sit in the stands, enjoy their child, sit back. But what's also happened over the 5 years is that those bleachers have developed a community of parents that know each other. And they even talk about strategies. They talk about their kids. They've gotten into clubs. It's just an incredible outline of the league. But then also, you're sitting out there and you're watching the volunteers. And the volunteers are 50% or more high school kids or 8th graders. And when these kids first sign up to be buddies, they really don't know what they're getting into. But when they begin to see these kids do what they do, run, laugh, joyful, do more than they can, it's an impact on their own ability to do more than what they think they can do. And then you've got the impact on the community. Out in Cottage Grove, we probably have 300 people a night, and a lot of them have come from just the community, just to watch. Rotary clubs, all kinds of people have come, and that's what this is all about. It says baseball. That's the that's the theory, the subject, but it's more than that. So one of you asked about how many kids, maybe west side, east side. There's about 320 kids that are going to sign up this year. I can only give you 2024 numbers, but out of the 300, 97 kids came from the west side of Madison, west, northwest. One of the things I've heard from people that is that it's a long trip, and then you add on to the Beltline. We've had some parents drop out this year because of the Beltline. I can see it just this blossoming, just like Cottage Grove did. We're not going to have to take kids from Cottage Grove to build the Verona plan. They'll stay where they are. The other thing is that as far as the disabilities go, I thought you might like to know, I've talked to the Autism Society, Weissman Center, and they say there's roughly 2,200 students in Dane County with the autism spectrum disorder, and another 1,900 kids with other cognitive disabilities. We work with the Department of Health and Human Services as well with a CLTS program, Children Long-Term Support System, and they've got 3,000, some of which are probably in the Weissman Center. Gigi's Playhouse, which services the Down syndrome, estimates that there are probably 1,000 to 1,500 Down syndrome kids between the ages of 4 and 19. So we're talking about a pretty big population. And then I got a report I don't know how old it is, Department of Public Instruction. There's a total of about 10,000 kids amongst all the districts who are designated as having disabilities. And this could also include perhaps people with, students with IEPs and so forth. But those are the kids that, you know, would I think, flourish in our league. So we have kids with hearing disabilities, deaf. We're trying to get the blind community to move in. I've got 2 buzzer baseballs ready to be used. I'm just overwhelmed by how this has all come about and where we are now. And when the Rotary Club came out last summer to give us a donation, I think they were blown away by what they saw. And Kevin, along with some other people, said, what would you like us to help with you? And I said, well, we're okay here, but you know, down the road, we'd love to build a league on the far west side. I think it would be a tremendous gift to the west side of Madison, and we kind of left it at that. But then Kevin and John Gerald came to me a few months later and said, why don't we get going on this? Let's see what the possibility is. So that's where this all happened. We have I just can't tell. Oh, and also right now we have 22 kids from the Verona zip code and about 28 adults as volunteers. But I think Fitchburg, Middleton, we have kids from Cross Plains. I'm drawing a blank, old man's disease. But it's just, I know that as the words get out, what we found out is that the awareness grows, the kids come. The parents are looking for things for their kids to do, to be a participant rather than a spectator. That's been kind of the block. One of the things I found out in Dane County is that there are a number of school districts, and maybe in Verona, that are building adaptive sports leagues. And they are beginning to have plans to have wiffle ball, soccer, and a gymnasium, and so forth. And that's wonderful. And so we want to be part of that. And I think it would really be an enhancement to the youth development program here in Verona, and would, like I say, I think would influence not just the kids, not just the parents, not just the volunteers, but the community in general. You have any questions?
Alder Harrison.
Hi, I do have a question. I just want to start by saying I love this because I just feel like the bidirectional developmental benefits of this for every kid involved is just phenomenal. I think that's awesome. On that note, I'm curious what outreach looks like for like recruiting folks to join the teams, and you maybe touched on this while I was looking down at my maps, but how do you find kids to play?
Well, that was a tremendous challenge to begin with, and I finally realized that I couldn't really go directly to the parents. I had to go and find out who was recommending who would be the people that would recommend the Miracle League. And those are the case managers in a number of agencies in Dane County. One lady at the Department of Health and Human Services, Angela Radloff, has a weekly email to all the case managers in Dane County. And bingo, that helped immensely. I spoke to more organizations about this. We have, with respect to volunteers, we have special ed teachers, we have teachers in general, we have retirees, a lot of retirees, and like I say, half of our high school kids. And so we contacted all the athletic coaches on the east side of Monona Grove, La Follette, East, but also Edgewood, A lot of these schools now have service requirements, so this was kind of ideal for them. Finding volunteers is hard, but I probably spend preseason about 80% of my time recruiting players and recruiting volunteers. Now, what's happening now, fortunately, the parents that have kids in the league now are spreading the word. And the case managers have the confidence now of what we're doing and are recommending it highly. And so, but it's not easy, but if we were to come over here, I would just try to build another network of case managers, people in that profession, school districts, to really build a network and get the awareness out.
Thank you.
Alder Swanson, and then Alder Tucker Long.
This is less a question and more a comment on what you've brought to us today. In my work at the high school, I sometimes end up in some of the classes that are sort of structured similar to this, where we have some of our general education high schoolers that work in a buddy capacity with some of our higher need high schoolers. And I think it really is enormously impressive what the kids of both varieties rise to when given the opportunity. So I'm excited about this opportunity that you brought to us, and I want to thank you both for presenting today.
We had one thing happening 2 years ago. UW Athletic Department has a program called Badgers Give Back, and they typically go out to wherever on a one visit only type thing. Well, I talked to them about the Miracle League, and they brought out 15 athletes the first night 2 years ago. And at the end of the game, the leader of that group said, "Bill, we want to do this for the whole season." So they adopted a whole team, and now they're into their third year. We have every sport, represented. Edgewood College baseball team came out. We have a fall league as well, and they came out and did all 4 weeks of the fall league. We have Madison College women's softball, and we have the Madison Nightmares softball team that plays them. They came out for a night. So that's been wonderful for the kids, but just the joy in the faces of everyone is just, it's so heartwarming to see.
Alder Tucker Long.
So we've actually been discussing adaptive sports leagues here in Verona with our rec department. And one of the things I'm wondering is, are there any opportunities with the field to perhaps expand the paved area to provide for other sports as well to use the facility?
Well, I talked to Cottage Grove about that idea, and they didn't take us up on it. But the only thing you have to be worried about is wear and tear. But I think it would be wonderful to have it multi-use. We talked to Cottage Grove about having little kids t-ball, soccer, but the surface itself is you would have to understand that every 10 years it might have to be replaced, but it's a perfect surface to do a lot of other things on it. Absolutely.
So just to clarify, is that something that you'd be willing to discuss with your project here in Verona?
Well, they would run it, right? Who are you talking about?
We would.
I mean, as far as using the field for more than one sport.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the only reason for that is that out in Cottage Grove, we've had some adults or older kids want to use the field, but it could tear up the field. We just want to know who the group is. But for an adaptive sports league, that would be okay.
Thank you.
We recognize you have other business this evening. So our purpose this evening was simply to introduce our interest in partnering with the city of Verona. I want to personally thank Jamie for his very open mind to this and sharing ideas with us. No mistake about it, raising north of $2.5 million in a couple of years may look like a large task to us all. We can do it. Our Rotary Club has a very good track record of this. We also have folks in the community that have already raised their hand and said we're willing to help. We would just like to earn the ability to have a partnership with the city of Verona based on the Miracle League model We know that Greg Sweeney and our colleagues at Findorf can build it. And if you can get to Cottage Grove to see it as we deliberate on this, it would be wonderful. But we're just excited to be able to work more formally with the city and make this a reality. So thanks for listening.
And thank you for the presentation. I guess last chance for questions.
I was just going to ask if we need a motion.
We do not. We actually cannot make a motion because it was not noticed as discussion and possible action. So we gotta just mainly this will be educational for us, as our attorney reminds me that we can't obviously take action on something that hasn't been properly noticed. So I'm sorry if there was any confusion, but I really appreciate the presentation, and I think the conversations will be ongoing. So thank you all so much.
Thank you very much.
And with that, we will move on to item 6C, which is the EMS Chief Report. Chief Anderson.
Is this the sound check? We're good? All right. Thank you, Alders, and Mr. Mayor, for allowing me to come in this evening and talk with you as we came back last fall and talked to you. I don't always get some FaceTime with the council, so welcome the opportunity to come and check in with you and let you know what we're doing across the street. So for those of you who don't know me, Patrick Anderson, I'm the EMS chief here for Fitch-Verona EMS, the EMS district that covers City of Fitchburg, City of Verona, Verona Township. And presentation is up there. I will do, this is my first Canva presentation, so it's got some zazz in it. We'll see how it goes. But wanted to start with just kind of the numbers for you, where we ended up in 2024. So the population of our district, so that's the two cities and the township that we cover, was 48,714. So a little bit higher than what we saw the year before. When we break that down, now understand that it's not, we are not funded proportionally across every resident in the district. But when we look at our overall costs, and we remove what we, as a unique department that services the district, we generate run revenue from billing insurance. So if we remove that, what it actually comes down for cost per capita in our district with that population is about $44.64 per resident, which Dane County actually does an annual survey every year of all the EMS districts. I'd say about 50% of them participate in that survey. If you're ever interested, I can provide that to you as well. But we're pretty smack dab in the middle of what it costs to run most EMS services here in Dane County. If you look at all of our municipality together, we are about 71 square miles. What we have for a fleet, for our fleet, we have 3 paramedic level ambulances. I'll show up a map here in a minute about where those are at. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, we have those 3 trucks in service. About 2 months ago, we upped our fleet from 5 ambulances to 6 ambulances. The lead time on purchasing an ambulance is about 3 years. So we've decided to kind of, normally we sell one and we replace one as kind of a replacement part of our fleet process. Based on that 3-year time, we've decided to kind of keep another one kind of hidden in the back. Those other ambulances are used to rotate into service. This week, we are out at XGM. If anybody didn't notice the increase of traffic in town, there's your heads up. That's why everybody's driving. But we actually they do pay us to staff. We have a dedicated crew out there. And then we are, as you can see from the picture up here, we actually partner with the City of Madison to provide EMS support at the Alliant Energy Center. So it's entirely possible as we get into the summer months here, there are weekends we actually have 5 crews on shift, hence why we have all the extra trucks. We have 2 support vehicles. We have 2 SUVs. One here's in Verona, one's up on the far side of Fitchburg, predominantly used for, I call it the FedEx part of my day. When it's running between all the stations and moving things around. But it's used for training as well as, I will talk about staff here in a minute. We do first respond. So if you ever see the SUV driving through town with our lights on, we're either going to help out, or there's an ambulance far away, or it's a larger incident, or we just want to go make sure that we know how to do our skills as well, which we try to do. We do have a UTV we got from a grant from some of our ARPA funds a couple years ago. It is an electric vehicle, so it's actually helped us in some of those larger events. Love that we're able to get through crowds much easier without providing that exhaust and that loud noises that we have through the crowds, although we are finding because it is an EV, it's quiet and nobody knows we're driving through anywhere. So talking about putting like a little bicycle bell or something on it. But that has actually been a great asset for us. And then a support trailer. So we repurposed a vehicle trailer from the county a handful of years ago. Things we go support, large special events that we go to. Biggest emergent use we use for it is fire support. So for a larger structure fire, any sort of a larger police event, normally we had things spread out throughout our district at those 3 stations, water, chairs, shelters. Now it's all in one trailer, and we actually do house that here in Verona. So we just hook up that trailer and take it out. We, being good partners with our community as well, we have actually used that outside of our district. When we were called about 3 weeks ago, if you paid attention, there was a large barn fire out in Cross Plains. They called for that, and first thing in the morning, we took it out there and spent about 3 hours out there helping them. They're primarily responsible for the rehab of those firefighters and responders, but we're able to provide that additional assistance, again, shelter, water, nutrition, making sure that our responders are taken care of. As far as our people go, number one thing that we have is we have 21 full-time paramedics. It's 7 people per station to make sure that station runs 24/7. Starting January of this year, we actually added a third, as I'm calling them a chief officer, myself as the chief, and now I have 2 deputy chiefs. I'll kind of talk about their roles here in a little bit. We have 1 part-time office manager who we cannot live without, as many of you know, probably with your administrative assistants, just a phenomenal person for us. Anywhere between about 12 to 18 part-time paramedics who come work with us, fill in those sick times, those overtime special events. 3 part-time AEMTs or EMTs, that's a lower level than a paramedic, but we primarily, they don't run on the 911 ambulance we have in our district. They help us out with our special events when we have that additional staffing on weekends. We have 2 paid interns. I'll talk about those in a minute as well. And then I always love to bring up, we have 1 volunteer paramedic, Tom Bates, who's been with us for about 32 years. He runs on every Sunday from about 11 to 5 as a 3rd person on a crew. And he keeps telling us he's going to give up his license every 2 years, and he keeps hanging out. So happy to have him with. That is what the map looks like. My Zazzy ambulance is on there. Right? That's what our district looks like. City of Fitchburg, City of Verona, those are our stations. The one in Verona here is at the Verona Fire Station. The City of Fitchburg does have 3 fire stations. Their station number 1 on Lacey Road houses their administrative offices and some reserve equipment. There are no firefighters outside of chiefs at that station. So we occupy the fire station number 2 and fire station number 3 off of Marketplace and South Sain, which you can't get to these days, but it's up there. So where do we go? All right, so this is actually 2024 from January to December of 2024. That's a heat map. So you can kind of see where the larger response areas that we go. I always like to leave out names of facilities, but you can see largely the population we have is the elderly and under or uninsured areas in our district. So we compare that to what that looks like where our ambulance locations are. And then if we look at what that looks like specifically here in the city of Verona, you can see where our ambulance is. You know where that big red dot is up there on the north side of town, and a couple of those areas as well. So district-wide, this is what we look like. I went back for about 4 years. That's what our call volume looks like. Fitch-Verona was started in September of 1977. So starting in January of 1978, you'll see what those numbers look like. You can see kind of that based on that population growth, pretty big spike here in the last handful of years. Going back 5 years, we've had about an 8% average increase. Over the last, probably should have done the math before I sat down, 47 years-ish. We average about 4 to 5% over the last 47 years. So we have seen a pretty significant uptick here in the last couple of years. Some of that does have to take into effect the addition of the old town of Madison in I want to say 2019, that came to the city of Fitchburg, the South Dill neighborhood. Other part of that is in 2019, we added a third ambulance as far as staffing. So calls that we weren't able to respond to before, we depended on our neighbors for, we gained those back and were able to take care of our own residents. So that's why you kind of see that big spike there in 2018. We just had the staffing to be able to take care of our calls. What does that look like specifically for the city of Verona? And there's the numbers there. It's roughly about 20, I think it waffles between about 23 to 26% of our district calls occur here in the city. Verona is keeping track with our overall average. It's been about 8% over the last 4 years. So I'd like to toot our horn about what we've been doing with you, with your tax dollars, and keeping our people trained up. In 2024, we added kind of a new innovation. It's a fairly brand new company out of Minnesota called Hinckley Medical. We were able to actually use an EPIC grant to purchase programs called One Weight and One Dose. What it actually did was their integrated cot scales. So that normal cot that we pull out of the ambulance, there's a medical grade. That's kind of why we haven't seen them before, is the durability of a medical grade cot, a scale integrated to a cot. We zero it out before we put the patient on it, count to 5. It actually gets us a very accurate weight in both pounds and kilograms, and then we can carry on with caring for our patients. Now, with that EPIC grant, we actually also integrated it to an app called One Dose. So we have our very system-specific protocols. What I like to do is we like to make our jobs 2 a.m. proof, is what we call it, right? And we have to get up at 2 in the morning and try to put our shoes on and not fall down and figure out where we're going, and then have to do math. I challenge anybody to try to do that. What it does is it's another safety catch for us. So when we actually get accurate, I always say, whenever you ask a patient their weight, and that's plus or minus whatever that weight wants to be. Some of our medications, specifically, we love this here for our pediatric patients, our kids. This is actually accurate down to 15 pounds. All of our pediatric medications are weight-based. Many of our adult medications are weight-based. So what this helps us do is make sure that we are properly dosing and not overdosing or underdosing. Historically, we underdose our pediatrics with our pain medications just because we don't see them. So this actually has been a great thing for us, and we've been tracking it now for a handful of months to make sure that we're trained up on it and accurate with this for us. Waunakee is so far the only other agency here in Dane County who's using the weight, so we're setting the trend. What are we looking for 2025? As I mentioned, in January, we added that third chief officer position, Chief Anders. He comes to us from about 12 years out at Deer Grove, which is Deerfield Cottage Grove, another district similar to Fitrona here on this side of the county. So his official title is of training and operations, but it's very much, I tell him, your job is training, right? And then I'll kind of let you dabble into operations as we go. But what he has predominantly done here in the last couple of months since he's been on board is we have a medical directors. We use the UW consortium. So 2 times a month we have online training. We have docs come in. We have a specific medical director assigned to us. He comes in and does very specific run reviews for us. Largely that is classroom information. It's all recorded. They can watch it online. What our staff and what we've been looking at is really the practical application. When we get something like a cot scale, over the years, EPIC has been able to provide those fundings. We have actually transport ventilators. We have portable IV monitors. We have some pretty advanced cardiac monitors. So we have a lot of equipment that we want to make sure that we are using appropriately. And that's what Devin's actually been able to do for us, is now actually make sure he hits all 21 full-time medics, all 14 part-time medics, and make sure that everybody is actually trained up the same, which, as you can imagine, kind of doing shift work that's not Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, can be a bit of a challenge, as he very quickly realized. So he has taken that and started to run with that over the last couple of months and has been doing a phenomenal job. Project number 2 I'd like to talk about is community outreach. It's been a very dedication of Deputy Chief Jeff Dostelik, who's the other deputy chief. His title is administration and personnel. We're going to try to a lot of what he does is actually community outreach as well, and he wants that on his little business card. He's really stepped up with that this year as well. It's kind of been a little bit hit or miss trying to get into the libraries and do public education, but it's been very much a focus for him in 2025. For the first, I think, 4 months of the year, we go back and forth between the libraries in Fitchburg, the library here in Verona, and we do actually public CPR classes, and we do public Stop the Bleeds. And a huge kudos to the city of Verona. We always get sellout crowds at our library here in Verona. I think we had 17 the last time we did the class here, which is so impressive. So woohoo, city of Verona. Other thing he does is actually has been very involved with the county and actually the state as well as far as falls prevention. The number one, if not slightly number two, it just flips back and forth call we go out on in our district for historically as long as we can go back has actually been falls. It is a problem here, Dane County, statewide. So he's actually been got a grant through Dane County with some funds through the state, and he's been working with the senior centers in both communities to go through our assisted living centers. If we're seeing a high number of falls at patients' homes, meeting with those patients, going into their homes, and we've actually have 2 residents here in Verona. We have been able to use that grant money to provide additional lighting for stairs, to provide grab bars in bathrooms. Again, the senior center has been a phenomenal asset with them as well, but that has been very much focused for him in 2025, is making sure we're doing that community outreach. And the third thing I put up there is, as I mentioned, we have 2 paid interns. So 3 years ago, it kind of goes farther than that, but we've been able to partner with Madison College and predominantly through what's called their Next Generation program, they target high school students who have a career in fire and or EMS. We are the only one, at least in Dane County, and the only one I actually know of in the state of Wisconsin, and there's probably some that are out there. There are lots of opportunities for young people to be firefighter interns. I don't know of a single one out there that is an EMS-only paid internship. There probably is, but I'm just going to sell us that we're the only ones. So we started that about 3 years ago in collaboration with Madison College, and identifying those students who, though they have some mild interest in firefighting, they want to work in the field of EMS, right? They get exposed to both in class. So about 3 years ago, we were able to partner with them. We have had 1 successful graduate. We'll have another one here in another couple of months. We have 1 currently in her first year. But next month we've got 3 applicants now applying for that internship that we have. The internship, they ultimately are with us for 2 years. Most of them, 2 of the 3 came to us with an EMT training through that high school program. If not, they spend that first year going through EMT as well as all of their general education requirements for the paramedic technician program. And then the second year, they'll complete the paramedic technician program. So when they're done with us for 2 years, we provide a supplement to their tuition. We don't pay all of it. But as part of that paid internship, they're given 72 to 96 hours a month. They are partnered with one person or a partner of people here with our program, and they are essentially running calls for the 2 years while they're going to school, while they're going to training, and actually getting that real world experience with some really experienced providers, making them successful graduates. So we will hire our 4th one here in about 2 months. So that's another thing very proud of. With that, I will end as well. I know you have other business to get to tonight. If wanted to kind of give you really a brief overview. Loved throwing the picture. I actually have a whole slide deck of all the pictures we do. Again, the people these are the people who are keeping your community safe. If you want more information, we do have an annual report. Verona EMS is our own website. If you go up there, there's an annual report that provides you lots of, call it nighttime reading, about all the other ad nauseum financial information, structures, commission information. But if you have any other questions for me, I would love to answer them for you.
Any questions for Chief Anderson? Alder Lytle.
Welcome back.
So I should probably save these for my getting up to speed. I've seen that there's a couple of things happening at the state level regarding EMS reimbursements, potentially. And I know from previous discussions that was one of the issues. How do you see that impacting, your budget or potentially not, for both responding to falls at like care facilities and then some of these Medicaid reimbursements. Is that going to be like actually a factor or to be determined?
I think at this point, the short answer is to be determined. We're in the process of, it's called the Wisconsin Ground Ambulance Transport Bill, or also known as the COST CPE is what it's called. It's been out at the state level since 2020. It actually was a 2021 act, was enacted finally in 2022, and they're retroactively putting it to 2023. But 2025, they have finally actually just come up with the forms to fill out. So that is actually sitting on my desk. They've been talking about it again for the last 3 years. We have finally just gone through that training about 2 months ago. In the interest of public access, I will say it's just an obnoxious amount of information, is the kind word, that we actually have to go back and find. What it's designed to do is supplement, off the top of my head, right? An average ambulance bill is anywhere between $1,200 and $1,700, really just to put you in and drive you to the hospital. For medical assistance patients, the reimbursement on that's about $150. The rest of that is written off. So there's a clear disparity recognized, right, of the cost of doing business and actually reimbursement for medical assistance patients. So that's what this program was designed to do. There are other states where this is already in place. This is Wisconsin's first jab at it. So I don't ultimately know what that number is going to be. That got asked at every training, and nobody was ever going to commit to it. It could be very minimal, could be thousands of dollars. To be determined. Yeah, we are supposed to see, right, the first report, the first submissions we have, I have to submit for 2023 are actually due at the end of May. And then for 2024 at the end of June. And then after that, it's supposed to be a rolling year. I'll see what those numbers is, what that reimbursement is. Again, there's without explaining all the limitations to it. If it's a significant amount of money, it is designed to be a reimbursement program as opposed to just raising the reimbursement rate. It will continually be a reimbursement program. So we'll see what that number is, but that should help out. And hopefully after we get 2 or 3 years under our belt, we'll be able to kind of factor in how that will offset the potential for run income. The second one you talked about is actually one of our paramedics is actually on the Wisconsin EMS, the state Wisconsin EMS Association, and actually just last week was up lobbying for essentially that no falls funding, which if you probably are, why would you be aware, right? Medicare does not pay for patients who we do not transport. If we transport them, right, Medicare pays for all of it. Patients are responsible for their $75 copay. If we don't transport them, we do generate a no transport bill if we provide care. If it's truly just lifting them off the ground, we look at that as a public service. But to go and treat somebody or assess them, we do charge that no transport fee. Though it's $150, Medicare doesn't pay for that, which means the patient's on the hook for that. So patients figure that out fairly quickly, and we have to transport them. Or not have to, but right, if I choose a transportation, I have to pay less, right? But that generates a lot of downstream costs. So logically, right, it makes a lot of sense if they would just pay that $75, $150 no transport fee. We could actually go assess patients, provide some of that primary care, which is a goal that we're kind of always moving towards, and get reimbursed for it. It would so much encourage so much more investment in primary care EMS, because we would be able to be reimbursed for services. Still a bill in proposal. Long answers to your short question.
Other questions for Chief Anderson? All right.
Thank you for your time.
That concludes Mayor's business. We'll move on to item 7, which is announcements. Any announcements from the council? Alder Tucker-Long.
For the new people on council, we do anniversary cards for staffs for their work anniversaries, and I have April's here for everybody to sign, so stop by after the meeting to sign those.
Thank you. Any other announcements? All right, with that, we will move on to item 8, which is Administrator's Report. Mr. Aulick.
Thank you, Mayor. So if you're watching this at home on your TV or streaming it right now, you're going to notice the big difference, and that is the city of Verona has entered the 21st century for technology. So we are now in HD. So the new equipment was installed, and hopefully it's working out well. I'm not looking at it right now, but the project is basically done for the upgrade of the chambers. A couple of other things. There is a ceremony being put on by the American Legion in the cemetery on Memorial Day weekend. And a gentleman came in from the Legion and asked if we would put the POW MIA flag at the cemetery over Memorial Day weekend. I talked to Mayor Luke. It's one of the flags that are automatically okay under our flag policy. So we authorized that, just so you know. Let's see here. We are conducting phone interviews for the Parks and Urban Forestry Director position tomorrow and Wednesday. We have 6 candidates, and I would say we have a very strong candidate pool this time around. So anyway, that's that. And lastly, I should have at least one appraisal in this week and possibly a second within the next couple of weeks. So when I get those, I'll update you on that. Other than that, that's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Aulick. Any questions on the Administrator's Report? Alder Swanson.
Do you have sort of a positive outlook on the benefit to the to the city of Verona for our long-term gain at the federal government's loss for losing people? Like, do you think that might be a factor as to why we have such a strong applicant pool?
It's a great question, Alder Swanson. We saw a lot of federal applicants or people working in federal government and also UW, which have positions that were funded, through federal funds. Some of the comments even on their application said unstable funding. So we did get applicants who are concerned. So yes, my observation is, we got those kind of candidates too.
Any other questions for Mr. Aulick? All right, with that, we'll move on to item 9, which is the Engineer's Report.
Thank you, Mayor. Relatively short engineer report today. Country View Road work is going along. There's some cut material from the wet pond number 1 is being placed along the berm along Country View Road. Nothing new on page 2 or 3. On to the lower Badger Mill Creek Interceptor, that phase 6. The Madison Metropolitan Sewerage District just had a pre-construction meeting with the contractor. Director Manning was in attendance at that this morning. We've got the proposed contractor schedule. We'll get on the district's website here likely within the next week, but there'll be some utility locates probably the end of next week, just along Shady Oak Lane and Midtown Road. And then construction will likely start in beginning of June. So once we get things ironed out on that, we'll make sure that the district is making that available to Director Manning, as well as post that. I'll put a link to in the next report, put a link to the webpage for that site, just so people can track that if they're interested. And then for development projects, Whispering Coves, Kettle Creek North, and Apex are all undergoing miscellaneous curb and gutter replacements, just warranty work from last fall, as well as erosion control inspections and working on addressing that. If anybody drove along County PD this morning, they'll notice that this turn lane going into Harvest Moon Trail for Apex is under construction, so that's being expanded right now. That curb is anticipated to be placed next week with paving to happen the following week. So that should all be finished by middle to end of May. And that's all that I have. Happy to answer any questions or take more, or if I don't know the answer, I can have Carla get back to you shortly.
Excellent. Any questions on the Engineer's Report? All right. Thank you. With that, we'll move on to item 10, committee reports. Could I ask Ms. Trustee, could you put the Zoom meeting back on the main monitor so I can see if Alder Helmke has her hand raised? Because right now I can't see. But anyways, We will proceed to item 10, which is committee reports. First up, we have Finance Committee. Who has this one?
I do.
Okay, excellent.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion for payment of the bills in the amount of $1,024,641.01.
Motion by Alder Humke. Is there a second? Second by Alder Lytle. Alder Humke.
Yeah, so there's 3 items. The first is to 1901 Inc. Mechanical and Plumbing for $50,092 for payments for the general hookup at the Public Works Building. There's a payment to Madison Metro Sewage District for $484,442 for the first quarter sewer charge, and a payment to Road Brothers Inc. for $93,420 for payment for North Booster Station water.
Thank you for that explanation. Questions or comments on the motion to pay the bills? Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of paying the bills in the amount specified signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no? And that motion passes. Anything further from Finance?
Nothing further, Mr. Mayor.
Excellent. With that, we move on to 10B, which is Public Safety and Welfare Committee. Alder Host.
Thank you. I'd like to make a motion to approve an application for a Class B fermented malt beverage and Class B intoxicating liquor license from Honey Barrel LLC, doing business as Honey Barrel. Matthew Heilman, agent, located at 160 Keenan Court, Suite Number 1.
Motion by Alder Host. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Alder Harrison. Alder Host.
Thank you. The applicant is applying for a liquor license for their bourbon bar located in the former Hodgepodge space. The license is a regular Class B license that was surrendered by N+1 in 2024, and staff recommend approval of the license.
Thank you for that explanation. Questions or comments on this motion? I'll just say real quick, I'm super excited to see that spot filled. I was sad to see Hodgepodge close down, but yeah, I think this place is going to be great for Verona. Other questions or comments on the motion? Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of approving the application for a Class B fermented malt beverage and a Class B intoxicating liquor license from Honey Barrel LLC, doing business as Honey Barrel, Matthew Heilman, agent, located at 160 Keenan Court, Suite 1, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no? And that motion passes. Alder Harrison.
Okay. I move to approve a full service retail outlet for Hop House to operate at Everlight Solar, 1155 Ambition Street, Suite 100, for the Chamber of Commerce Mega Mixer on May 15th, 2025.
Motion by Alder Harrison. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alder Swanson. Alder Harrison.
The Hop House is requesting a full-service retail outlet to serve alcoholic beverages at the Mega Mixer. This temporary outlet is allowed under their state-issued retail license. The Department of Alcohol Beverages will provide the final approval after the city signs off on the outlet.
Thank you for that explanation. Questions or comments on the motion? Alder Host.
I just want to make sure that I abstain from voting and commenting on this. Thank you.
Thank you for doing so. Other questions or comments on the motion? No. Alder Weiss.
So this is just a special event license, so it's just temporary thing for, it expires after it's done, that kind of a thing?
I believe that's the case, although those more familiar with it can correct me.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, all right.
Other questions or comments? Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of approving a full-service retail outlet for Hop House to operate at Everlight Solar, 1155 Ambition Street, Suite 100, for the Chamber of Commerce Mega Mixer on May 15th, 2025, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. And that motion passes 7-0 with Alder Hoax abstaining. Anything further from Public Safety?
Nothing further. Thank you.
Excellent. With that, we will move on to item 11, which is new business. First up, we have 11A, a discussion and possible action regarding SSM Health Project Development Agreement Phase 1. Mr. Alec.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The terms and conditions of the Phase 1 development agreement include the developer shall construct and install at its own expense those on-site and off-site public improvements applicable to serve Phase 1 of the property. Improvements include installation of public sanitary sewer, public storm sewer, public water, public streets, and public sidewalks, stormwater management, gas, electric, cable, telephone, street lights, and street trees for dedication to the city. Construction of the improvements will commence on or about June 1st, 2025, and be substantially complete on or about May 1st, 2026. However, the actual commencement date of construction and projected completion date shall be determined by the contract between the developer and its contractors, and such dates shall be subject to the approval by the city. There are recapture provisions in the agreement where, contingent on the city's ability under applicable law to recapture costs, the developer shall be entitled to reimbursement of a portion of sums paid by the developer to construct certain improvements from benefited parcels. The staffs are continuing to work through those provisions. The developer is also responsible for city costs and other fees, to include MMSD fees, city water impact and sanitary sewer connection fees, land dedication fees, and land reservation. The developer is also required to provide an irrevocable letter of credit to secure performance under this agreement and pursuant to the subdivision ordinance. One last comment: if you are to make a motion to approve this, please do it contingent on final approval by the city attorney and city administrator. Thank you.
Thank you for that explanation. Questions or comments on this motion? Alder Harrison.
My only question is, what does it mean to have an irrevocable letter of credit? Just curious.
Mr. Kleinmeyer?
She's right. There's a mistake in the thing. What should we do about it?
So we require the irrevocable letter of credit in all of our development agreements. Effectively, it's there so that if somebody starts their public improvements but doesn't finish them, that we can then draw on the letter of credits to get the money that we would need to finish the public improvements, so that we don't have, half-built water mains and half-built sanitary sewers.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Kleinmeyer.
Other questions, comments, or motions on the item? Mr. Kleinmeyer.
Can I, as noted, there are a few blanks, obviously, in the document that's in your packet. I mean, we have approved agreements of this nature before with these blanks, particularly with the fees being, we still have to fill in those blanks. One thing that I want to note, though, because it's a little bit different, there are currently some above-ground electric facilities on Valley Road adjacent to this development. Those electric facilities that exist right now and are above ground, they would be, under this agreement, allowed to continue to be above ground, which is a little bit different than usually we want everything placed below ground. But there is an anticipation that Valley Road may need to be moved in the future. And I think at a staff level, our thought process was, it doesn't seem appropriate to require a developer to incur the cost to put facilities underground when there's a chance within the immediate, near future that that road may be moved, and then as part of that project, the facilities will be put underground. And I just want to raise that issue because typically we would want the developer to put the facilities underground. Here, there's a pretty rational basis to treat this a bit differently.
Alder Chucker-Long.
Is there an expected time limit that we could place on this? Whereas if the road doesn't get moved in, say, 10 years, then the developer is responsible for moving them underground?
We could. My understanding is this is a decision that is probably outside of our control and outside of the developer's control, and I think for that reason, we didn't look to put that language in there, but if that's something the Common Council wants to do, it's something that you could consider.
Okay. And I have one more question, if that's all right. I'm also wondering, when that road project happens, will the developer be contributing to any of the cost of moving those facilities underground, since this is a cost they would normally bear?
I think it depends on where this is located. I'm getting out over my skis here, but my understanding is the reason why the road may need to be moved is more of a Wisconsin Department of Transportation determination, so that it's a little bit further away from the highway, and then exactly how it would impact the developer's property is unclear.
All right, thank you.
Other questions, comments, or motions from the council? Alder Weiss.
Why would the electrical facility typically be required to put underground? Is it aesthetic? Is it a safety thing? Like, what's the advantage there of it being below subterranean versus above ground?
I think it's both. It's aesthetic, like for all of the utilities that are put interior to the development, we always require them to be underground. And it also protects them so that there's less issues, which I think then creates, we're just kind of looking forward so that the residents or businesses that move in there hopefully have less issues because the utilities are underground.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions or comments or motions from the council? Alder Chucker-Long.
I move that we approve the SSM Health Project Development Agreement.
Are Are there any contingencies?
Could you add subject to final review and approval by the city
Subject.
administrator and city attorney?
Subject to final approval and review by the city administrator and the city attorney.
Motion by Alder Tucker Long. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded, I think, by Alder Swanson. Motion before the body. Questions or comments on the motion? Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of approving the SSM Health Project Development Agreement, Phase 1, with the contingencies specified in the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. And the motion passes. I have a brief point of order, actually, that I'd like to ask Mr. Kleinmeier's question on, not related to this topic, but I've been alerted that there was a typo in the appointments list, and we listed the wrong person for the appointment to the cemetery board. It should say Jesse Charles and not Jeremy Charles. What do we do about that? Because
Correct it right now.
Okay.
I mean, it's just notice it's just an editorial issue. So I think that if you maybe just have a motion on that one correction, right now, I think you can do that. Since, I mean, we've already passed it on the agenda item, but it's something that you notice right now, and I'd rather take care of it tonight than that's subsequent meeting.
Me as well. I would say Jesse Charles is currently on the cemetery board, and that is who I put in my email. And I guess shame on me for not proofreading the packet, but Alder Swanson.
I move to take the action as advised by our council.
So, and that is, who's being substituted for who?
Jesse Charles would be substituted for Jeremy Charles. They're brothers, so, you know. Wrong brother. Motion by Alder Swanson. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded, I think, by Alder Tucker Long. All those in favor of appointing Jesse Charles to continue on the cemetery board signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no? And that motion passes. Thank you, everyone. With that, we'll move on to 11B, which is a discussion and possible action regarding ordinance number 25-1064, amending Title II, Chapter 2, Order of Business, Public Comment, and Conduct of Deliberations of the Code of Ordinances, City of Verona. Mr. Olick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This ordinance amends common council meetings in the following ways. Updates the order of business to reflect contemporary practices, provides that during public comment, members of the public may speak on any topic during the public comment period for a total of 5 minutes, provides that during the conduct of deliberations, no member may speak without first being recognized by the presiding officer. If more than one person desires to speak on a question at a time, speak on a question at the same time, the chair shall recognize the speakers and keep a queue of speakers. At the discretion of the chair, speakers may be limited to 10 minutes. As is current practice, citizen participation during the conduct of deliberations is at the discretion of the chair.
Thank you for that explanation. This is our attempt to kind of clean up some of the language. Under the previous language, it seemed like as long as the speaker kept switching topics, they could speak indefinitely, according to the ordinance. We've never done it that way, so we're trying to get it so, you know, we can't get like filibustered while also giving the public a chance to talk, because we want to hear from the public as well. So this is our first attempt at it. It's possible we'll have to go and tweak a few more things as well. This is the first attempt. So questions, comments, or motions on this item? Otherwise.
I might be reading this wrong, but in D2, is everything crossed out? It looks like there's no citizen
That is correct,
participation at
otherwise.
all.
Again, that goes back to our current practice that if a citizen wants to participate during the meeting, like the agenda.
Example now.
Yes.
Okay.
They would have to be recognized by the chair in order to speak.
So that's the intention of this update.
To continue that practice, yes.
Okay. Yeah, it's reflective of current practices, because otherwise, yeah, someone could just get up in the middle of a debate and I guess we'd all start yelling at each other. It's not a good way to run the meeting. So, we want to have the public to have a chance to speak, but, the general practice is at some point, the council has a debate and then it passes or it doesn't. So.
Okay. Thank you.
Other questions, comments, or motions?
Other
Swanson.
Sorry. What's the procedure for when we run out of speakers in the queue? Does it automatically proceed to voting, or just asking for clarification based on my experience in other
If
voting
it was
procedures?
if it was public comment from like a public speaker, that's generally just right at the beginning of the agenda. So it wouldn't be in the debate. If somebody, for example, if an alder had a question to a developer, they would get called on and then they would be done and the debate would continue amongst the council.
Thank you.
Other questions, comments, or motions on this item? Alder Lytle.
Yes, I'll make a motion. We approve the ordinance number 251065, amending Title II, Chapter, nope, here we go. 251064, amending Title II, Chapter 2, Order of Business, Public Comment and Conduct of Deliberations of the Code of Ordinances, City of Verona, as discussed.
Motion by Alder Lytle. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by, I didn't hear who, oh, Alder Hoax. Okay. Motion before the body. Questions or comments on the motion? Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of ordinance number 25-1064, amending Title II, Chapter 2, Order of Business, Public Comment, and Conduct of Deliberations of the Code of Ordinances, City of Verona, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. And that motion passes. With that, we move on to 11C, which is a discussion and possible action regarding the ordinance number 25-1065, amending Title II, Chapter 4, appointment to the Verona Economic Development Commission of the Code of Ordinances, City of Verona. Mr. Aulick.
Thank you, Mayor. This ordinance amends the membership of the Verona Economic Development Commission, VEDC, by replacing the appointment of a City of Verona resident chosen by a majority vote of the VEDC with an appointment chosen by the mayor.
And if I could just add a little bit of explanation, this predates my time, but in the past, this was probably incorrectly a mayoral appointment until someone read the ordinances and said, wait, that's not how it's supposed to work. So now it's a appointment of the committee, but if you know, this committee meets maybe once a year, maybe less, so we don't actually get a ton of people showing up. There's one person who just kind of monitors the agenda and he knows to show up. And then since he's the only member of the public there, we just, we vote for him. But that strikes me as potentially not the best system. I would also say in the alternative, if like 5 or 10 people showed up, that could take up easily half or more of the meeting where we tried to figure out who we were going to appoint, and we don't have a strong process. So this is, I think, just kind of making it look like some of the other ones. And my plan is, to appoint the person who's been the citizen appointment in the past and just kind of keep the same person because I think it's working out. But obviously I'm open to feedback, and if people want to do it a different way or someone has a different system, I guess now is the time to say so. But questions, comments? Alder Swanson.
Move to approve ordinance number 25-1065, amending Title II, Chapter 4, appointment to Verona Economic Development Commission of the Code of Ordinances, City of Verona.
Motion by Alder Swanson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alder Weiss. Motion before the body. Questions or comments on the motion? Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of approving ordinance number 25-1065, amending Title II, Chapter 4, appointment to the Verona Economic Development Commission of the Code of Ordinances, City of Verona, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. And that motion passes. We move on to 11D, which is a discussion and possible action regarding ordinance number 25-1066, amending Title II, Chapter 4, appointment to the Tourism Commission of the Code of Ordinances, City of Verona. Mr. Aulick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This ordinance amends the language related to the appointment representing the Wisconsin hotel and motel industry by stating, however, it is preferred that the commissioner representing the Wisconsin hotel and motel industry be a resident of Dane County, and this commissioner must be knowledgeable about the hotel and motel industry in the city of Verona.
Thank you for that explanation. Questions or comments on this motion? Alder Tucker-Long.
I've been thinking about this as far as being a resident of Dane County, and we are pretty darn close to the western border of Dane County. And so if we adopt this, there could be someone who's living 20 minutes away from here who wouldn't qualify, whereas someone who's living close to an hour away from us would. And so I feel like just denoting it by the county isn't really accomplishing maybe what we wish to accomplish. And so I am curious if we could make it based off of a distance instead, like a 1 hour distance or a 40-mile distance or some sort of radius instead of specifically the county, or perhaps we could include other adjacent counties as well.
That's definitely an option. That's up to the body if someone wants to amend it. Although, just so I'm clear, this is recommended language, right? It's
Correct.
Not a requirement. So, like, I don't think it would happen, but like, you know, appoint someone from wherever. But anyways, questions, comments, or motions? Alder Swanson.
Yeah, I think that considering that the language says it is preferred, that seems pretty non-restrictive to me. So I think that we're probably in the clear, though I understand and agree with the concern.
Questions, comments, or motions? Alder Harrison.
Can I just clarify, this is for, like, in response to, like, the Airbnb problems we were seeing like a month or two ago?
This is separate. This
is
the
a different issue?
Yeah, this is the Tourism Commission. So it's supposed to have, by state law, one representative of the Wisconsin hotel and motel industry. And we changed it from saying a couple meetings ago, from saying it had to be a Verona resident to just saying it had to be someone who represents the hotel industry. Because we don't necessarily know who, like, would be authorized or a good representative that also lives in the city of Verona. So we made it less restrictive, but I think some people were like, well, they should have some connection to the community, which I think is fair. So this is an attempt to kind of bring it in and say they should be from Dane County.
Thanks for clarifying. And I think I agree with Alder Tucker-Long, though, in regards to just like putting the language in there that is not county specific. I recognize that this is just a recommendation and is not an actual restriction. But I don't know, it would feel better if like we set the precedent here in case someone 10 or 20 years from now, you know, solidifies this more and uses the area that we had used. And it could just be the area of Verona. Could be defined by like school district even. I don't know.
Questions, comments, or if someone wants to take a crack at a motion? Or a motion as written, either way. Alder Tucker-Long.
I move that we approve the updates to Section 2-4-10 Tourism Commission with the amendment that instead of preferring that it be a resident of Dane County, we use the wording representing the Wisconsin hotel and motel industry be a resident within 50 miles of City Hall.
I guess when you said amendment, you meant change to the motion and not an amendment. Okay.
Sorry, a change to the wording that's in the packet.
And then 50 miles, I guess, as the crow flies. Is that the intention?
That was my intention, yes.
Okay. Motion by Alder Tucker-Long. Is there a second?
Yeah, second.
Seconded by Alder Harrison. Motion before the body. Questions or comments on the motion? Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of approving ordinance number 25-1066, amending Title II, Chapter 4, appointment to the Tourism Commission of the Code of Ordinances, City of Verona, as described with the change from Alder Tucker-Long, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no? And that motion passes. We don't have any more ordinance changes for anyone tonight, but if anyone's looking through the ordinances and something doesn't make sense or could be improved, definitely let myself and Mr. Aulick know, because we should always be working to improve these things and tighten up the language when we can. With that, we'll move on to 11E, which is a discussion and possible action regarding the presentation on potential uses and renovations for the former library located at 1030 North Franklin Street, Verona, Wisconsin. Mr. Aulick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And with us tonight is our Recreation Director, Casey Dudley. He's been working on basically the lead on this project, so we'll have him come up. Ms. Trustee, if you could put my laptop back on the screens, I'd appreciate it. And I think what I'd like to do, if it's okay with you, Mayor, is kind of catch up our two new alders, just a quick, brief overview on what we're up to, and then get into what we've found.
Yes, thank you. Jamie asked me to come kind of present again, obviously for the two new aldermen. So to bring you up to speed, I'm not sure how much you are aware of, but the old city library, which is currently a church, we lease out, and Jamie reached out to all the department heads wondering, hey, does anyone want to utilize it? And I was one of the first to raise my hand because it's nice to have some indoor space that we can utilize when we're not relying upon the school's senior center or the library. So with that said, we put together this presentation. Obviously, the library had some interest in, their main interest was record storage. They're currently keeping some historical society records in the library. They'd like to remove them so they have more space in their facility. This would accommodate that. Thirdly, the senior center, they're looking to expand mainly their adult exercise program. They certainly would be able to do that in this facility as well, because this facility would have a larger space where they could hold adult exercise programs in there. So, Jamie, if you want to move on, yep. So, clearly we're talking about the challenges that we currently have. Right now, the rec department doesn't have an indoor space dedicated to their programming whatsoever. So all of our indoor programming is, like I mentioned earlier, in a school, in the senior center, mostly. So with that said, if we're having an activity in a school and the weather is bad and the school cancels, we automatically have to cancel anytime we have any programming. So to give you an example, years ago we had a ice storm. 6 in the morning. By noon, it was 40 degrees out. School canceled. So we couldn't hold any events that we had because we're following the school protocol. So there's just another avenue where we'd be able to control what goes on in there. Secondly, during the day, school year, 9 months of the year, we don't have an indoor space. So this would enable us to maybe offer some programming to kids preschool age, indoor, that we can't do right now. So those are our main challenges. Basically covering kind of the activities. So like I mentioned, there's a lot of activities that we can add. I've listed several here. One of the big ones is after school care. All of our elementary schools have the YMCA program that they run at the schools, and they're all full with waiting lists. So this is a service that we thought we could provide, and Jamie, in speaking with the school district, somehow that came up, and Mr. Weezy reached out to me, and we discussed it, and the school is very interested. In talking with him earlier this week, he mentioned that they have a funding source called Fund 80, which they can utilize to kind of offer these kind of services. They just don't have the space right now because they have them in all of their schools. So they're very interested in kind of partnering with us, whether it's funding the program or funding some staff. They've mentioned they're very interested in that. So that's an avenue that we're really looking at. So the after-school care is one of our big offerings that we could do that would bring in good amount of revenue to help offset the rent costs that we're bringing in right now. So, and then there's other activities that we're able to do there for younger kids within the facility. So there's a lot of opportunity for all ages that we'd be able to offer to the folks here in Verona. Let's see. The other one was potentially, obviously, we would need to manage the facility. So office space is tight in our current building where myself and my rec assistant are. Public Works is kind of busting at the seams, which I'm sure many of you have heard. So if we were to move up there, we could manage the facility. We don't have to hire a lot of additional staff to manage it during the day. That would open up some office space down at the current Public Works facility. So that was an added benefit. Room rental. So currently, we don't have indoor space really that we rent out in the city. There's been, over my 24 years here in Verona, numerous times people have called, emailed, asked if they could have an indoor space. They're looking to hold a birthday party or a baby shower, that type of event, and we don't have it, right? Our only kind of indoor space, I send them to the senior center, I send them to the library, or now the fire department. But this would be a space that we could rent out. There's 2 good-sized rooms that people would be able to utilize simultaneously, or you could rent them both, be a bigger party, that type of event. So that's an offering that we'd be able to have for this community. So let's see, moving on, Jamie. Yeah, these are just other things listed here that basically we can do in this facility that we currently have to use other buildings for. Like when I hold coaches meetings, I have to do them in the fire department or the senior center. This space would be here for us. We could have that be our home base for that kind of stuff. And then potentially more storage. Currently, a lot of our equipment is stored in the mezzanine at Public Works. And you can imagine with trucks driving in and out, anytime I go looking for anything in our storage, my hands are covered in dirt. So the stuff, we have to box it, cover it, keep it tight. So that'd be nice to move some of our like T-shirts and other kind of equipment that we need on a weekly, monthly, seasonal basis to have in this facility as well. Talking about the library, like I mentioned, they have the historical records. We've already kind of got a space kind of in the old library that we would be able to house that in. It'd be perfect for that. Senior Center, talked about that. They want to expand some of their exercise programs, so this would enable them to do that. Talked about possible other community offerings. You can do CPR classes, first aid, that kind of stuff. Again, we have this space available. There's those kinds of things we can expand and offer. And then there's just more things to consider. These were all the things that we brought up in the last meeting when we presented. And at that time, we didn't have any hard costs. So, yes, if you want to pull that up. So in our time since then, obviously, we have the hard costs here. So first one is the flooring, right? And so, you know, I don't have the price up there for the whole building, main floor. This would mainly be for the west half of the building. So if you're on Main Street, that's the nearest part of the building to North Main Street. It's a good sized space. It's a little bit smaller than the sanctuary space, which is where the church holds their services. The reason we'd like to replace the flooring there is obviously a lot of the carpet is old, but this space that we're talking about redoing would be the space we'd rent out for like birthday parties, things like that, where they're going to have beverages and things that could spill. This is also the space where we would look to have the after-school program where all the kids are doing arts and crafts and using glue and paints and things like that that potentially could be spilled. So we thought changing out the carpet there, going to LVP would be the best solution for that. Obviously, there's two prices there. One is a quote that we've received from a local flooring company, which is the higher number, and the other number is if Simon, our facilities manager, did that along with maybe one or two parks guys during the winter season to get that ready, and he's more than happy to take that on. Obviously, if you wanted to do the whole upstairs, it'd probably be more than double those costs because the larger sanctuary space is bigger, and the price is per square foot on that. Doors. So we're trying in a lot of our buildings to put the automatic fob system in place. So I have there as, you know, more of a should do because it's a good thing for the long run. The cheaper option is just rekeying the doors. And then if we rent out the spaces, we just have to get a key to them and then they give it back to us. So that I'm good either way there. I think the fob's handy because if people lose a key, now you've got to rekey doors. The convenience, they just hold a little fob in front of the door. They can get in and out. You can program the fob. If they lose it, you can deactivate it, that kind of thing. But it is a good little chunk of money to do that, to add a fob. Yes, sir.
Would it be possible to look at, I don't necessarily know if we want to go with a smart lock just because there's problems inherent in the system, but like with some of them, you know, you can like program it and give it to someone on their phone and then go in and let it, and then when the event's over, you just take that away too. So I think we should probably look at a few other
Yeah, there's
systems.
certainly other avenues like the new shelter downtown Century School Park has kind of a smart lock system. It's an app. You can just hold it in front of the door and unlock it. I think that's very similar to this because there's also fobs that we give out too.
Okay.
So, yeah. But again, I'm not opposed, and I don't think it's the end of the world if we have a key. We used to do our park shelters that way. But again, I'm more practical. I'd like to be able to have these things available to us. So if that cost is prohibitive, I'm happy with rekeying. Next there, the interior doors, there's just a cost there to rekey all the locks inside. Not a lot. It's very small, $500. Security cameras. So there are none in the building. So if that's something that we'd want to have, I mean, initially thinking you'd for sure maybe want some at the exterior doors for people coming in to keep it secure. Potentially in the larger rooms, if we're holding an after-school care program, kind of protects us from any kind of activities with children inside. So it's in the should have, could be both. So I think that's more up for you guys to decide. Furnishings. Basically $3,500. So that would be the office spaces and tables. Right now, there's several tables set up in the space, but those are the churches. So we would need those in there for the programming that we would do. Potential more tables needed for the larger sanctuary. So if you're renting it out to someone and they're having 100 people in there, you're going to need enough tables and chairs for that. So that's there. Technology, phones, internet, computer, all that stuff. Basically, that's no upfront cost with an annual cost listed there. So that is the numbers that we have there. That's not really anything we can avoid. Secondly, the infrastructure. So that's the kind of the hardware that needs to be there, the Wi-Fi, all the computer stuff, so we can connect to City Hall, all that kind of stuff. That price is listed there as well, of $2,500. And then the labor to install all that, I think Jamie went a little high on that estimate, but you never know. It depends on how long Pat and his colleagues would take to get everything hooked up and set up in there. And then we have construction. So one of the things we would add is to the front entrance, kind of a foyer front desk area for folks to come in. And we would have someone sitting out there to greet people when we're open. Similar to what we have now down at the Public Works facility. So if people come in to register for programmings, to do anything that they're looking to come in and utilize. Simon would also be building that desk. And that's kind of the estimated cost there. There are some windows and French doors between the two large spaces. Obviously, if they're being rented out by two different groups, we don't want people to be able to see each other. So we would need, there'd be some small costs there, whether it's blinds, curtains, whatever we would need to do there. And then we would need to add locks to those doors. So if people are on one side, they're not able to go in and bug the people on the other side. Electrical. So currently the outlets, the light switches for the west side of the building, the larger space, and then the sanctuary, the light switches are in the sanctuary. And so that's because of the old library, the way it was set up. So we need to move those into the western part of the facility. And we got a quote to do that, and it's $1,200 or $1,500, sorry. And then office supplies, printer, copier we would need. We're currently using the copier at Public Works, so we would need something. We've reduced our copies that we make, but we still would need to make print things and copy things, and other general office supplies, paper, that kind of stuff. So that's included there. And then lastly is the elevator. So currently, we're not planning to program in the basement to reduce costs. But ultimately, I could see interest growing. In talking to Chad Weezy from the school, he said, you know, you could have 100 people that would want to do the after-school program. I forecasted like 20 people. So being conservative, but if they're willing to fund some things or staff, and we could have more staff, we can increase the numbers. We've got the space. Potentially, we could utilize the basement. Well, Simon says currently the elevator has passed inspection, but he really doesn't trust it, and it would need some repairs. basically it's a well, a subgrade space that sometimes floods, and some of the components, the metal inside of there has rusted, and Simon won't use it to haul supplies to the basement. He carries it down the stairs. So it still works, and again, it passed inspection, but long-term, if we're looking to use the basement, we would need to upgrade that elevator to accommodate folks that need it. I would envision that if we're having after-school program or any other kind of program that we're running in there and all of our participants are able to utilize the stairs, we would use the basement. So, you could go down there and kids could play Foursquare down there. Kids, there's a lot of activities we could do in the basement if everyone's able to do that. Whether or not you guys would want to spend the funds to upgrade the elevator is up to you. So those are all the hard costs. As you can see there, the low end is $37,000 and the high end $79,000, and a big part of that is the flooring. And then the locks on the doors. Yes, sir.
Do you have any guess on the elevator? I know you haven't got
Right.
estimates, but because that could be expensive.
If I had to guess, it could be upwards of $15,000 to $20,000.
Okay.
I don't think it would be a ton more than that. So I looked at it with Simon. There's just basically where it comes down and lands, some of that part is rusted, and then they would need to upgrade that. I don't think it would be much more than that. The rest of the elevator is good. It's just more the stuff on the bottom that's kind of rusted out the frame that catches the elevator.
Okay. Questions or comments on the presentation / spreadsheet? Alder Harrison.
I have 3 questions. Is that okay? Okay. First off, I was just curious, and I got some context clues, I think, but why only estimate half of the building for the flooring?
Yeah, really, ultimately, because we've never had a space. So I'd like to get a space. So I'm trying to keep the costs as low as possible. So
I'm replacing what you need to.
Correct.
I see.
Yeah, I mean, that's the minimum, right? Because we're going to rent that out to those kind of events, we would want that flooring. The other flooring isn't in bad shape in the sanctuary. It's just carpet. And so, again, I don't think that's a huge need, because I think we're going to do yoga class in there, and I think they'd probably rather be on the carpet if it's cleaned, so and vacuumed often. So, that's why we did that.
Okay, time for number 2. What do you feel about the split state of having some things at the old building and some things at the new, including people?
Right.
That feels like a big barrier to getting some things done. Are you worried about that?
I guess I'm not following with people at the...
I don't know, you're not all at the same facility anymore, so it's not as easy to coordinate meetings, things like that.
Right. So honestly, rec department is in the Public Works facility. So, and the Parks Director would be there. That's correct. But I think this day and age with texting, phone, it wouldn't be a big deal. As opposed to walking over to the Parks Director's office to let him know that we need the soccer fields painted or whatever. It could be a call or an email. I don't think it would be a huge deal.
Mr. Hollick?
Yes.
I just have one comment on that, and that is that right now the Casey's assistant does staff the front counter of the Public Works building. And so if you take that one person away that's staffing it, a lot of, and move that person over, you would then have to backfill that position at the Public Works Department. So been kind of mulling that over, how that's going to work or what have you for the front counter of Public Works.
And that's not absolutely a huge, or not, let me rephrase. There are alternatives to that with current personnel at the facility, but that's something to be decided by that staff as well.
Okay, final question. What's I'm kicking myself for not having gone on the tour of this building when we did it 6 months ago, but what's the vibe check? Would you actually like these spaces for public functions and having people kids there? Is it a good space?
Absolutely. It's a block from the school, so that's a huge just location. And again, talking to Chad, he said it's ideal. The Badger Ridge Middle School is a block away, Sugar Creek's another half block up the street, so kids would be able to walk there. But also the indoor spaces are good spaces. Basically, there's 2 smaller rooms on the west part of the building where we would have the after-school program. And there's 2 small spaces where we could do a quiet space, reading, homework room. The other space, we've got a bunch of padded mats that we got donated from a local business here in town, and we could make that like a small little children's little play area that they could come and do some during the day activities, kind of toddler time in their padded environment, tumbling, that kind of stuff. So then we also have a couple other spaces where we would envision with the after-school care program potentially adding an avenue for kids to get, like, if we had a few older TVs donated and some old gaming systems, they could play video games, that kind of thing, in the after-school portion of it. And then the sanctuary space, if it's not rented out, we could utilize that space. It's a large area for, like I talked about, they could play Foursquare, do little activities, physical activities outside of playing basketball or running around for like playing football. They're not gonna be able to do that. But we are near K Park. That facility is not far, 2 blocks from K Park, which in the summertime, in the nice days, in the fall and spring, you could go there and do outdoor activities as well.
Thank you.
Mr. Alec.
Yep, just one comment. We will offer up a tour again for the new alders and anyone else who would want to join. Just email me and I'll coordinate it.
Other questions or comments on this from the council? Alder Weiss.
So, and I appreciate your concern about trying to get the costs down. Is there a chance that there's something that was like a 50-50 thing where it's not on the list because you're like, I'll live with it, but 6 months from now it's going to turn into a dire need? I mean, is there, how confident are you that this list gets the facility to the point of after-school care and programming, other programming?
Pretty confident. I think the one area would be the basement flooring.
Okay.
It's even older, and it's kind of, I know there's been some humidification issues. So there, Simon's got a dehumidifier down there, but it'd be nice to add, let's say, a dehumidifier to the HVAC system because it has that quote unquote musty smell in the basement. So if you ripped up that carpeted area and did, say, LVP, that type of material, that would maybe make it a little better and then more usable. But again, if we're initially not planning on that, I would think that could be a capital expense that we could add in the future based on our interest in the programs that we offer there that we need to expand. Same with the elevator. I would think to get us up and running, I know the lease is up at the end of September, and depending on what they do and then what you guys decide to do, that would enable us ideally to potentially utilize the space come January 1st for folks.
Mr. Alec?
And I would add on to that, that is the question, because we didn't go into 2025 with a budget for this building. So we need to make sure that our finances are sound on whatever would be decided to invest in later this year, et cetera. So that's another conversation, but that's where we're at.
Other questions or comments from the council? Alder Tucker-Long, and then myself.
Are we looking for a motion? Because there's not one listed in the packet, and I wasn't sure if we're just discussing, listening to the presentation, or is there a motion that is?
Mr. Alec.
It's intentionally blank. I guess we're trying to, again, get more guidance on keeping the ball moving, I guess, trying to see where everybody's at now, knowing more solid figures, right? They're still estimates, but it's just something you guys want us to keep pursuing.
Anything?
Yeah, I guess I would just say, yeah, there's a lot of stuff on this list, but, it looks like, Casey's put in a lot of effort to figure out what, has to happen at what point in time. And, I am so excited about all the opportunities this space is going to provide. And we have 3 departments that are excited that this is going to benefit. So I am definitely in favor of continuing to move forward with this project.
I got myself and Alder Weiss. Yeah, I want to echo kind of what Alder Tucker Long said. I think that I'm pretty excited about this space. I think it's going to be wonderful for the city. My son's kind of rapidly aging out of after-school programs, but like, wow, this would have been so nice when he was younger. So we won't get to enjoy it, but hopefully some other parents in Verona will, so I'm excited about that. And I guess I would say about, like, if we end up with just like a to-do list, you know, because of budget constraints or whatever, we don't have to do it all in one year. You know, so if it's like, hey, it's really important to do this other thing or something else, we can just add it and just kind of take care of it, you know, 1 or 2 things at a time until the building is, you know, totally transformed and really nice. And I think it's really important sometimes just to get it working and work out all the problems. And it's entirely possible as the building is used, it'll be like, oh, well, we really need to replace that you wouldn't necessarily know until you started having programs in it. So I'm excited about it. And I think we can, I haven't seen the budget numbers, but I think, you know, if you think of it, maybe not as 1 year, but like 2 or 3 years, I think we can fit this into our budget. Alder Weiss.
I just wanted to say that this seems like a really great opportunity. I did kind of like have a physical reaction to seeing storage as a thing to do there. I just feel like something that's so centrally located, as you said, near the schools. And I understand that not every square inch can be utilized for programming and other things, but if there are things that are just simply in cold storage, I wonder if there's not other less centrally located, less kind of walkable, you know, unless it's just you couldn't use that closet for anything else anyway, I guess. Trust your judgment on that. But just some feedback that that the storage thing doesn't excite me as much as the programming aspects of the plan you laid out.
Mr. Alec?
Alder Weiss, if and when you go on the tour, you will see that's a storage space at that building. It is made for storage. Nothing pretty.
Alder Tucker Long.
One last comment is I would strongly encourage you to consider the fobs or codes or something, not physical keys, because physical keys are too easy to copy and you never know if that happens when the key gets returned to you. So I would not be in favor of physical keys.
Alder Lytle.
So I think the current or previous year's council has heard me talk about this. To begin with, I think all these are great improvements, necessary improvements, would allow us to utilize this building in a way that benefits the citizens of Verona. I just, similar to the discussion last month about Field of Dreams, this is a solution in search of a problem. I would love for us to take the time to do a little longer-term needs assessment. What do the citizens of Verona, what are their priorities for us to offer in the way of programs, rec and otherwise? What do we need then from a staffing standpoint? So we're not doing a staffing plan that's year to year. And then, you know, drive the facility needs from there. This is a 45-year-old building, somewhere in that range, that we're taking on. We own it currently. We were responsible for it when it was being rented, but there was an income stream from the renter. We are now taking on investing in that building. There will be, like any building that age, significant infrastructure upgrades that will be required, all of which could very well benefit us and could be the most cost-effective way to do it. But, you know, as time goes on, I would like us to maybe hit pause on projects like this until we have a little bit of a longer-term plan, some priorities set through a deliberate process, and then, you know, make sure that we're weighing the pros and cons of those options, as opposed to kind of piecemealing these decisions as they present themselves. So again, Casey, I think what you've done is awesome. I think there's a lot of benefit that would come from this. I'm just hoping to use this as a prod for us to be thinking a little longer term about what the needs in the city are, programming, staffing, facilities, and to do that sooner rather than later.
Alder Swanson.
Yeah. On sort of the note of getting a finger on the pulse for current needs, I know that the Comprehensive Plan Task Force did just have a meeting last week, which was an open house sort of looking to do that. I know that the task force is planning to have a follow-up on Wednesday, the 14th. So I would hope that, and Alder Tucker Long, you can maybe add some additional clarity on this. But I think that we can probably get some of that information back from MKSK, our intel on that, and that might help fill in some of these blanks that you pointed out.
Yeah, I'm definitely all in favor of piggybacking on things we're already doing. And Alder Braithwaite.
Yeah, I agree with all the comments, and I appreciate Alder Lytle's comments. I think that even if I look at the high number, $80,000 is a very small amount of money. I would encourage the city to look at donor opportunities. I don't know if we've talked about naming opportunities. I would also encourage, kind of to Alder Lytle's point too, of kind of developing a facilities plan for this particular building, so that, I know it has several HVAC systems. I know that, so that we can kind of just plan out, maybe make a 20-year plan, look at different, kind of maybe plan out future remodels. I think we're gonna, own this building. Hopefully it has the next 50 years of use, and I think we should just kind of plan out. I appreciate all your effort in what is required to make it day one functional. But again, for this small amount of money and for the needs, I think we can think bigger, and should be trying to think ahead. That's why I encourage to not try to do work in-house. I would rather allow you guys to plan forward and oversee the work, and not have to burn yourself with the daily tasks of getting materials and directing crews. So I would think about this. I would think about this as a long-term vision rather than what do we need to do before January 1st. I think this is a facility that we can grow into, but I would like to know kind of what is our dream state of, what does this facility look like in 15 years, and what does each yearly step? This is probably a facility that we're going to have to set aside some money towards yearly, and I would just want to make sure that we're building towards our final vision. This is a good first step. $80,000 for a first step to get it up and running. That's in the location where it's at. That to me seems very doable and not a very hard pill to swallow. But yeah, and so I would just encourage all staff, not just the rec department, to think of the long-term vision and how we can work together. I sit on the library board and I sit on the senior services committee, so I know their needs, and I know, their other conversations and stuff. So I know there's lots of synergies there. Once we can get access to it, and you start seeing projects take shape, there'll be more ideas. And so I don't want you to do something day one and then, in a year say, well, had I known, or had I thought, I would like to, maybe we can look at some donated consulting services or some space planner. We're doing a space needs assessment right now for the library. I know senior services have had different space planners involved in their facility as well. But I know it's not easy to develop a spreadsheet like this and to present this information. And I think, this is a good first step. And I think, you can't beat the location. And for minimal amount of money, and you look how much a house or even a lot costs in the city of Verona right now, the possibilities are endless for this facility, and we'll just have to invest accordingly.
Other feedback from the council or questions? Seeing no further.
Can I just say something?
Yeah, Alder Humke.
Yeah, I just want to say I really appreciate Casey's work in putting together sort of the list of to-dos. I have been really excited about this project from the get-go. I understand the want to plan this out, but I've been hearing from, my residents about needing more programming through the rec department, and I feel like this is just a really awesome opportunity to take advantage of that. When you first talked about the number of kids coming after school, I thought, wow, that seems really low, and I'm kind of glad that Chad Weesey has also agreed that there's a really high demand, because it really feels like it in the community. We know there's a shortage of childcare opportunities, and the proximity is just incredible. It just seems like a gem. And I get that maybe we'd like it to be more long-term planning, but I feel like we're already way behind the 8 ball and being able to provide expanded opportunities for the rec department. And I just think we need to take advantage of it. And like other people have said, build it out as we go and be strategic about it, right? Knowing what we need to do initially to get us up and going and what that would look like. And I think the money is going to come. I mean, sitting on the Senior Services Committee, Stephanie at the Senior Center is always getting asked about opportunities to use that space. And I think if it's even more widely known that we have the space available on the weekends or in the evenings potentially, I do think it's going to fill up. Lower cost rental spaces are really hard to find, and having things that are accessible to all sorts of people in our community, I just think is going to be amazing. And I'm excited that we can do this sooner rather than later to kind of be on the cutting edge of what we can offer for our folks here who've been looking for this for a really long time. So I really appreciate the work, Casey, that you've been doing. And I'm excited about what this is going to look like.
Any feedback that we missed? Question to staff.
I'll just add one thing. I would really encourage everyone to go on that tour and see the facility, because you all think it's a 45-year-old building and it's so terrible. It's not. It's actually, we could program it right tomorrow if the church was moved out of there. It's just, there's things that need to be done, right, to make it more user-friendly, that kind of thing. So I would highly recommend everyone go see it, because it'll give you a little bit more of a better perspective on the shape of the building and the spaces in the facility. So.
All right. Well, unless anyone has anything else to add, we will move on to item 12, which is adjournment.
So moved.
Motion by Alder Hoax. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alder Harrison. All those in favor of adjournment, say aye.
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 Opposed, no.
Aye.
And we are adjourned at 9:07 p.m. Thank you, everyone.